like to call the Monday, February 1st, Finance Committee meeting to order. Clerk Shea, please call the roll. Clerk Manning.
Councilor Kane.
Present.
Councilor Kroll.
Present.
Councilor DeBona.
Present.
Councilor Finn. Councilor Forrest.
Present.
Councilor Liang.
Present.
Councilor Palmucci. Councilor Hughes.
Present.
Okay. So we have before us this evening Order 2016-003, which is an appropriation for $6,752,145 for the MSBA Accelerator Repair Program for Beechwood Knoll and Marymount Schools. Just to sort of set the table, as I had been informed, this will not be voted on this evening, primarily due to the fact that it takes 2 weeks to properly advertise for this particular appropriation. Where we met last time on a Tuesday, we're a day short of the Monday. So I also just want to do a time check with folks that we will be, we have a hard stop at 7:10 because we have a couple other preliminary items on the agenda before we go into the general meeting. So at this point, I'm going to defer to the mayor's representative, Chris Walker, and I don't know if you want to invite anyone to the podium, sir, but however, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, as you mentioned, what you have before you tonight is a $6.7 million request for appropriation, which is the 6th and 7th projects that the city will be contemplating under the Massachusetts School Building Authority's Accelerated Repair Program. We've had some tremendous success with this program over the course of the last several years, totaling more than $6 million in grants to do windows and doors at North Quincy High School, Wallaston Elementary School, Marymount School, Lincoln Hancock School, and Parker School. Those were done this summer in the first round of projects. I know if you've seen them, not only from the outside when you look aesthetically at these buildings and the difference it makes, but also for the long-term functionality. These improvements have really made a tremendous difference in these schools. The request tonight continues that program. We've been qualified for 2 additional projects, the windows, doors, and the roof at Beechwood Elementary School, and the roof at Marymount School. Tonight with us, I'll briefly introduce the project team, and those folks will come up and give a very brief explanation of the project going forward. With us tonight is Walter McDonald from the Public Buildings Department, Superintendent Richard DeCristofaro, who's been a key piece of everything that we've done going forward with the SBA over the last several years. Project team, we have Daniel Bass from Baker Wall Architects, Ron Guada and Suresh Bhatia from Atlantic Construction. They're our project managers. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. McDonald to give a brief overview of the Accelerated Repair Program and introduce the rest of the project team. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Kroll, members of the City Council Finance Committee. It's a pleasure for the Public Building Department to be here this evening to present the MSBA Accelerated Repair projects for Beechwood Knoll roof, windows and doors, and Marymount roof. Our department is very familiar with MSBA Accelerated Repair program, having completed 5 window and door projects last year with a value of over $8 million. One of those projects actually was Marymount, where we replaced the windows over there. I'd like to give you a brief summary of the Accelerated Repair project with MSBA, how it works. In December of 2014, Dr. DeCristofaro received a letter from MSBA that they would be accepting statement of interest from districts for the Accelerated Repair program. The statement of interest is the first critical step of the MSBA Accelerated Repair project. It allows districts to inform the MSBA of deficiencies in their school facilities and how the deficiencies inhibit delivery of district education programs. Upon receiving the statement of interest, the Public Building Department, along with the school department and our building maintenance team, met to identify buildings that we thought would be good candidates for this program in Marymount and Beechwood Knoll. seemed to be the top priority in the system. The school department then submitted an application for the statement of interest in February 2015. And MSBA came out in the spring and physically looked at our buildings to see if they met the MSBA criteria for the program. In June, the MSBA Board of Directors voted to invite the city of Quincy into the ARP program and conduct a schematic design study. The invitation to partner with MSBA on schematic design is not approval of the project. It's strictly an invitation. During the summer, the MSBA assigned us an owner's project manager, which was Atlantic Project Management, and a designer, Baker Wall. The OPM and the designer are pre-selected by the MSBA, and the city is required to use these firms. We have no say in these firms. Since September, the city has worked with the OPM and designer to complete a schematic design and total project budget for both school projects. With approval of City Council, Finance Committee, we hope to move forward with construction drawings, bidding, and construction of the projects. Now I'd like to give you kind of a brief overview of what we're doing at Marymount and Beechwood. Beechwood Window and Doors. Beechwood was built in 1951 and had a renovation in 1994. There are 5,250 square feet of exterior window wall in the original section, and there are 2,500 square feet of windows in the 1994 addition. There are 19 exterior doors, all in need of replacement. The window frame seals have aged considerably, leaking in many areas. We found that there's no insulation whatsoever in the original building on the window walls. As on the Beechwood roof, there's 33,500 square feet of roofing that needs to be replaced. The roofing system on the original buildings are past their useful lifespan, with aging single-ply roofing and bituminous top layer. Areas of asphalt shingles and single-ply roofing on the 1994 edition have failed. All existing roofing needs to be removed to structural deck and replaced with fully adhered insulation and new PVC roofing. There are skylights that need to be replaced. Secondary drainage needs to be added to the gymnasium with scuppers and roof leaders. On the Marymount roof, Marymount was built in 1929. It was a major renovation in 1976. The Marymount roof is 16,000 square feet. The roofing system and associated roofing mechanical and electrical systems on the roof have surpassed their useful life. And it has an aging built-up roofing system past its useful life. The flashing is deteriorated, the cornice is leaking, expansion joints are leaking, the parapet wall is deteriorated. All existing roofing needs to be removed to structural deck and replaced with mechanically fastened insulation covered with new PVC roof. I'd like to introduce to you the OPM, who is Atlantic Project Management, Suresh Patia and Ron Vada. Suresh can explain the scope of the project, his responsibilities, oversight of the project, and any questions related to the MSBA spreadsheet they have in front of you. The project designer is Daniel Bass from Baker Wall Architects, and Daniel will explain the design and engineering of the project, as well as any questions you may have.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Bass with Baker Wall Architects. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and it's a pleasure to be a part of the team that's working on these two schools. The thing I think that I'd like to emphasize for you about this work is, it's already, the scope of it's been well explained by Walter, but I think the thing that I'd like to emphasize for you is the benefit that will accrue from the project. So, to give an example, at the Beechwood Knoll, the original 1950s wing has this classroom wing that goes out the back, and those walls are virtually uninsulated. I actually find it quite amazing that you've not had any substantial complaints about it over the years, but you have managed well enough, but we can substantially improve that for you. We're going to take down the whole wall from the, almost from the roof all the way down to the foundation line, and put up a new storefront system that will be well insulated and will not have air leaks going through it. That, together with a well insulated roofing system, is going to vastly improve the comfort and the energy efficiency of the building, and we think you will also have better light quality coming in through the windows. So this is going to be a lot better for your students in that school. The work at Marymount is less flashy. You won't see the results quite as well because it's all up on the roof and behind the parapet. But in the same measure, by adding a lot of insulation to that roof, we're going to improve the energy efficiency of the building and the overall comfort for your students. So that's the main thing I have to say. Obviously, we're here to answer any questions, but at this point, I think I'll go ahead and hand off to Suraj.
Good evening. My name is Suresh Bhatia. I'm with Atlantic Construction and Management. And just like want to explain to you the process. MSBA pre-selects OPM and designers for the project. And it's a very rigorous process that they go through. And this is our, I believe, the 14th repair project, similar to yours. And in front of you on the spreadsheet, the MSBA takes the value for each. They assign the value based upon the state guidelines. And Quincy, City of Quincy's rate is 68.96 reimbursable of the total cost. So what you have in front of you are the different costs for the total project that we have estimated. With the designer has estimated, we have reviewed the estimates. And out of that, the total cost, approximately 69% would be reimbursable by the state, and the other 31% is the City of Quincy's responsibility. The state, the MSBA looks at it, and there are certain items they tend to exclude, and that's included in your spreadsheet. Like there's a rooftop unit at the Marymount School. Because the rooftop unit is not part of the program of the MSBA's repair program or the roof program, they will participate in picking it up and reinstalling a new rooftop. The cost, because it was determined the rooftop unit is very old, it needs to be replaced or should be replaced now. So the cost of the rooftop itself unit is to be paid by the city, will not be reimbursed by the state. Similarly, at Marymount, the window air conditioners are old, they should be replaced. So the cost of the window air conditioners, and then there's some shelving that's also involved. The state will pay for removal and installation, but will not pay for the cost of the shelving. And that we recommend there should be new shelving. And those are the only three items that are not reimbursable to the city. The city pays 100% for those three items. So if you have any other questions on the sheets in front of you, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
At this time, I think we'll transition and let, I don't know if that's the end of the presentation or if there's some other folks, but if we have some questions directed at you, if you'd be so kind to invite back.
Thank you.
Is there any other presenters here this evening? Dr. D, did you want to give any perspective from a school standpoint? I know you were with us when you were here last time as well, so I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to add. It's okay if you just wanted to acknowledge that you can know.
No, I'll just real quick. I'm still trying to figure out what a scupper is. No, just thank you again for your consideration. You've been unbelievable through a lot of projects, so I just say thank you for your consideration.
It's also important to note that we have with us here this evening the Director of Finance, Mark Kavanaugh, as well as the Treasurer Collector, Deb Kavanaugh, who's going to entertain probably one of the financial questions. So I don't know if Counselor is anything initially, Counselor Forrest, and the microphone here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you and to the gentleman, I didn't catch his name, that was just presenting, the designer from Baker and Wall. Or maybe Pat, or maybe the mail after. On the Marymount School project, you had talked about, one of the things you mentioned was the removal of air conditioners. They don't support acquisition of new equipment, but they'll do the removal. Thank you. So the removal of the air conditioner, the old, are we in this project replacing the air conditioners
Yes, we
in
are.
their exterior units?
There are window units.
Window
Just
units?
like a window air
In the shelving that supports the air conditioning?
No, the shelving is the book shelving that's on the inside, on the east side of the heating units. And those shelving need to come out, like Daniel explained, we're replacing the whole
Correct.
wall, so they need to come out. This MSBA will not reimburse the city the cost of the shelving. They will pay for the removal and the reinstallation.
I see Mr. Martello jumping up. Do you want anything to add to that?
No, other than, the reason we have air conditioners, we have these window-type air conditioners in there, we look at other alternatives.
This is going to be my next question. Great,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
looked at other alternatives, rooftop units, and, because they're ugly the way they stick outside of the windows. And they do function very well, but aesthetically, they look terrible, and we're doing a whole new system here. So what we've done is we've designed that they'll sit flush, and there'll be a louver. It'll be inside, so from the exterior of the building, you will not see any of that. Oh, you're talking about Marymount?
I was talking
I'm sorry.
about
Okay, that's a rooftop unit,
Okay.
and that's in poor shape. It's falling apart. Now, MSBA will support all the piping, electrical for that unit, but it makes sense for us at this point, to pay for that unit now, because it's past its useful life. It doesn't make sense to rip the whole roof up, do all the work on it. We're putting all new fans, so that's covered by MSBA. All these rooftop fans and everything. Just that AC unit is not covered.
I see.
And
So
so
the
we-
mechanical and electrical systems at Marymount, our rooftop systems, rooftop bed, are being replaced as part of the project.
We have it in there to replace that, but that's not, we won't be reimbursed on that.
Okay, but it's part of our project budget. And then I
Right.
just wanted to get a timeline for the Marymount, particularly Marymount repairs.
For Marymount, I think we'll probably be able to start that first once the kids get out of school. I mean,
Completed before they return to school.
oh, yes.
Summer
Absolutely.
project, not interrupting any of the school.
Yeah, in Marymount, we feel confident that we'll be in good shape.
And
We'll
the
start.
windows were done, those windows were done last summer.
The windows are done. That's
And
what,
the doors?
doors
And
and
the doors and doors.
yeah, that's why we're real happy about this
Yeah.
project, because we got a complete envelope
Complete
now.
envelope, absolutely.
So we're happy with that. And, it's, I know a lot of people have seen it, and, they really like it. Aesthetically, it came out really nice.
And
And,
I'm very pleased and glad to see the investment
yeah.
there, so thank you very much. That's
Sure.
all, Mr. Chairman.
Did you have something, Walter?
no, I didn't know, Kristen,
Thank you.
wanted to ask a question.
Oh, I think I'm like the unnamed Ward 6. All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, through you, I'm here, Catherine is nice. Okay. We cannot pass this evening, correct? We cannot, okay. But I just wanted to give a word of support. I know Beechwood Knoll has waited a long time for these improvements, and I know it's going to greatly improve the experience of the kids, but the teachers as well, which I always give a nod to, because they're the ones who are freezing and stifled in the summer, working hard before classes start. I wonder if the same holds true for Beechwood Knoll when the project is expected to begin after we do vote on it, and how long will that be completed before school begins, or will there be some work going on while the kids are in school?
Our goal is to have everything done by the start of school. That's our goal.
Yes.
We get out, we have to bid these projects. And we have to have the plans in place. You get a lot of, every school system, all these school systems throughout the country are doing these types of projects. So we want to get in the queue as quickly as possible to get these, and then we're working very, very diligently to do that. So we're in hopes we'll have the windows in time when the children get out of school and work through the summer. We got a lot of storefronts, which actually we may be able to get quicker than windows. The new edition has windows, and I think we'll still get them in time. We're in hopes we will, but the storefronts may actually come quicker. The roofing project, I don't have any real concerns that we wouldn't meet the roofing project. And we're really in hopes. It's just, you have to go by what you're given by the manufacturers. But, and I remember when we did Montclair, that we were in hopes of getting the windows in, start of school when school let out, and we got them Labor Day weekend. We shouldn't be the case, but you're held hostage kind of by the manufacturers, but we're doing everything we can, so we're not. We're going to get it in the queue as quickly as we can.
Good. And just a question actually to, I think Dr. Cristaro briefly about letting the faculty, the parents know about the work going on and showing them what is going to come up. And have you communicated that, or has Mrs. O'Keefe been able to communicate that?
No, not at this point, but we certainly will.
Yeah.
And we can give them a timeline. We'll meet with the community, we'll meet with PTO, the staff, no problem at all. But that communication will occur, maybe in March at some time, when we're really sure we're full speed ahead, and let them know what's happening now. And we've been tremendously fortunate in public buildings. Last summer, an incredible amount of work at so many buildings, and we're ready to open in September. So we'll have the same thing next year.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question. Council Leanne.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of questions. So we had done projects before through the MSBA, correct? Do we have the final numbers on those completed projects in comparison to proposed budgets that we have?
Right now, I should be getting them shortly. We're still, believe it or not, there are miscellaneous punch list items that we're still doing. We do them on like a Tuesday afternoon when the elementary schools are out. We're finishing them. I'm waiting for the documentation from our owner's project manager, Skanska. We're putting all that together. And PMA was our other project manager on Parker and Lincoln Hancock. They're putting all their documentation together. We should be getting that shortly. But we use very little contingency money on these schools. I was amazed at how little. They weren't very unforeseen conditions. The drawings were very good. We didn't use very much of a contingency at all. I think our numbers are going to look really good, and I should know that probably end of this month.
Okay, thank you. And then just the other question I had too, the reason why I asked how large the discrepancy was between the proposal and the final is because I don't see any labor costs in here. Is that we're
On
going
the
to those numbers
spreadsheet?
when it goes out to bid, or am I just missing it on here? I don't see any line items for labor costs or estimated labor costs.
Should we ask you about labor costs?
These costs, all the costs that are there include labor and material. And then you have the contingencies and the overhead and profit, but each cost includes labor and material.
So they're included in
Yes.
that, okay. So that was it, thank you.
And if I can just add to one more thing, which Walter was explaining to you, we've been doing projects with the city of Springfield and other cities, and as of this morning, we're closing the 2013 project. So in 2014, it takes about, with the MSBA, approximately about a year by the time they get closed out.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker, I just have one question for you. So we look at the agenda this evening. There's essentially 3 other items on it, corresponding to other work orders or open work orders, right? Statement of interest. I think that we spoke about that a little bit this evening. In terms of success rate, right? So statement of interest just allows you the opportunity to get in line. Still has to be approved. I'm not looking for an exact number, but just kind of a hypothetical. How successful are we in our attainment?
Our success rate, I do believe, and maybe the superintendent can correct me, has been 100% with these projects. Every project that we've gone in, the SBA, we've had a tremendous amount of cooperation. In fact, SBA has commented on the programs we put forward, the documentation, and some of the other things that are required of us as to, essentially, Quincy really has its stuff together when it comes before SBA, and they've been really happy to work with us. We've had a great success with it.
Which is good to hear. Doctor?
Yeah, I think since the beginning, we've had to Quincy High School, and following that Central, and now looking forward to Sterling, the core program, and then in the accelerated program, we've been 100% as well. So I think we're really good.
I believe the reimbursement rate is certainly very attractive when you're coming up against 70 cents on the dollar, 68 and change, to the city money that has to go in. Mr. Walker, I was just maybe hoping you could clear something up for me on the memo that was issued, I believe, from the mayor's office, bulletin before, that talks about the total budget for these projects, about $9 million, with more than $6 million paid for by state grant. Now, are we assuming the cumulative, meaning what's before us here this evening,
No.
along with the subsequent boiler programs?
No, sir, I believe that those are the first 5 projects, about $9 million.
So that's the aggregate of everything that we've done.
Done to date, with the
What's-
exception of these.
What's in front of
What's
us?
next?
Okay, that's helpful. I just have one question I don't know if this is directed more towards Mark or more towards Deb, but it's kind of more of the financing piece of it. So, I mean, as I had mentioned, right, roughly 70 cents on the dollar reimbursed. So the city is responsible for 30 in that case. What type of debt instruments do we plan on using to cover?
Initially, any amounts that we borrow towards these projects, subject to your approval, would be banned. They would be short-term bond anticipation notes. And we carry those for a couple of years. I don't know the renewal rate.
They're usually between 1 and 3 years.
Right, and it's interest only. Typically, you're paying around 2% interest, whereas the long-term debt would be more like 3.5. Currently, our credit rating was just reaffirmed at AA+, which is the second highest out of about 10 ratings. So we're in good standing there.
So essentially, you take our portion of this deal.
Correct. We would only borrow.
Put a
We
ban.
authorize for the total, we
Right.
borrow what we need.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, my question, I don't know this piece. What's the cost to the city to initiate a ban? Is there some sort of like sales charge or?
Because of the cost. I know it's interest only that we're paying on the instrument.
There are some costs initially in any bond because we use the city's financial advisor, First Southwest. Bond counsel also has to review the whole transaction too. So we're paying for those services as well as the rating agency charges us, for that process when we go through the rating. It depends on the size of the issue, how complex. So, but a lot of the bonds and the bands and the bonds, you get a premium, and a lot of that will usually cover the expenses of issuing a bond.
Essentially, you come in with this part of the deal, you authorize the ban, and some sort of payment paid to the financial advisor, which I understand
Yes.
to an extent that recognizing side of the business. But then year 3, I'm assuming you would take what's in front of us now and hoping that we apply or qualify for the statement of interest to deal with the boilers.
Right.
You'll combine these, and then essentially you'll underwrite a debt offering that you'll put out into the market. I'm assuming there's no charge associated with that or not.
It's all covered through the First Southwest handles that for us, so they pass those fees on to us as well. But we probably won't combine all these, the projects that are ongoing now, the previous window projects. We'll probably be permanently financing them before these new projects that are just coming on board.
And I'm just trying to learn here too. So when we actually go out and authorize the bond,
Right.
what type of tenure are we thinking? Is it a 5, is it 10, is it 30?
20, probably 20 years.
It's 20 years. So obviously you pay interest on that 20-year authorization. In the aggregate, roughly, this is just back on the mapping math, but it's $9 million we're talking about right now, right? Responsible for a third of it.
Right.
Does it make more sense, just from a, I guess, financial execution standpoint, to find a way to pay that upfront, whether it's a FY17 budget, and then essentially negate any interest over 20 years?
So you're saying pay the entire project up front?
$3 million, yeah.
It's a budget question.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, we haven't
Ms.
talked
Kavanaugh,
about
you
that.
might have more
Theoretically, Chairman, you could do it, but it's not the traditional way government finances. They have to use the debt both short-term and long-term, because more asset needs will come up next year and the following year. You just don't have the wherewithal to pay upfront for everything. For any selected asset, if you had the wherewithal to buy it without bonding it, of course it would be cheap.
Right.
But the cost of the schools and the useful life of what it is you're paying for generally is the rationalization that gets used. These schools and the projects, the enhancements being made will have probably more than a 20-year life to them. So paying for it over the course of the term of the bond is it works.
There's no question it's a vital project and a great project, especially if we're in a position to, secure that type of funding. And I just wonder, from a financial principle standpoint, does it make sense where it's $3 million when you're talking about an overall aggregate of $260 million budget? $3 million
277 this year.
isn't huge. So I just, again, this was just me thinking out loud today. You forfeit all those 20 years of interest payment, and then you don't. Just a thought. I mean, that's obviously an administration's decision, but that's my thoughts. So, any questions from other councilors? Councilor Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McDonald, I think. I also see on your app, I know we're just talking about Marymount and Beechwood Knoll right now. I also see Atherton, Howe, and Wallaston on the agenda for down the road here.
Right.
Where are we on the punch list of these schools? Is there any of those schools that really need some work to be done as well? I know we're just on these two. Is there anything that you've had out there that is saying, hey, this is...
Other buildings?
Other buildings.
The MSBA, to apply for the statement of interest on accelerated repair, like for instance, the windows have to be 20 years old or older. Anything below 20 years, they will not do. So that's why we went after boilers, because we don't have any windows right now that are 20 years old or older. So we looked at our facilities and we felt boilers are part of this. And we looked at our roofs as well, but a lot of our roofs, we don't have huge square footage of roofs. We made so many repairs over the past 4 or 5 years that we're in good shape on our roofs, really, that we wouldn't get funding from MSBA. But boilers, we do have a need in those buildings. We looked at them thoroughly, and we feel the value has to be over $250,000 to go into the statement of interest on the accelerated repair. And we feel those 4 schools will qualify, because you're going to have to put in a new boiler, but you also have to put in concrete pads, you got asbestos removal, you got all new piping, you got electrical, you got all kinds of work, welding. So the boiler may cost you $70,000, but all the periphery work is going to raise the cost of it. You're going to have engineering, design. So we feel all those 4 schools will qualify. We'll know when MSBA, if MSBA sees these, that what they'll do is they'll contact us. They'll want to come out to the schools and look at them. What we'll do, we'll go with our mechanical engineer, Dave Scott, our Shelley Dean, our energy person, and our department, plumbers, and meet with MSBA and walk through with them and show them the problems that we have. And hopefully will qualify for those that work.
Thank you, thank you.
Any further discussion? I want to thank the speakers here this evening, as well as the project team. Also you, Mr. Walker, for helping us prep properly for this meeting. We do appreciate all the work that you did leading up to. As I alluded in the beginning, do you have something else, Walter?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. As I alluded to in the beginning, due to advertising constraints, this item will remain in committee, and we'll revisit it at the next city council meeting. So at this point, motion to adjourn. 7:04.
It's a record. Public hearing, Mr. Shea.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. President. The Quincy City Council will hold a public hearing on Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7:10 p.m. in the Council Chamber, City Hall, 1305 Hancock Street. In reference to a petition from National Grid Gas, respectfully request the Quincy City Council with their consent to the location of mains for the purpose of installing gas main under city streets. National Grid to install and maintain approximately 1,125 feet, more or less, of 12-inch gas main in Quarry Street, Quincy, from existing 12-inch gas main to building number 258 easterly to the proposed 8-inch gas main at Avalon Way, which is a private way. This is to supply gas service to the Avalon project on Quarry Street. I'm going to take attendance. Councilor Kane. Present. Councilor Crowe. Present. Councilor Devon. Present. Councilor Forrest.
Present.
Councilor Yang.
Present.
Councilor Calmucci.
Present.
President Hughes.
President.
We have a quorum. The public is here at one letter, and Dennis Reed is here from National.
All right, so at this time, we could ask.
Dennis is
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Egan. You can use that. Oh, okay. It might not be working. Hold on. Oh, it's working.
first one we'll use.
Good evening, my name is Dennis Regan, and I'm the permit representative for National Grid.
Yeah.
No?
Oh, it is on. Try that one. It's an experiment.
Hello?
No,
You can hear.
go ahead. We know who you are. Sorry.
I'm the permit representative for National Grid, and tonight, National Grid hereby respectfully requests your consent to install and maintain approximately 1,125 feet more or less of 12-inch gas main in Quarry Street, Quincy, from the existing 12-inch gas main at building 258 easterly to the proposed 8-inch gas main in Avalon Way, which is a private way. I can answer, I'll try and answer any questions.
Is there anyone here wishing to testify for this? Anyone? Anyone here wishing to testify against? Yes, sir. You can step up to the podium and give us your name and address.
My name is Robert Wallace, and I own the property at 270 Quarry Street, and which you have listed as 258, I'm sorry. And I wanted to find out, I do have gas, hot water in my building, and I wanted to find out exactly where the gas main would be running, if there's going to be any interruption of service, and if there's going to be any interruption of people pulling into the parking lot.
All right. The clerk actually has some extra maps. If you'd like to have that, we can give that to you. And if Mr. Regan wants to talk to you offline.
I can explain everything to you.
Okay, that's my point.
Okay, your building, it was probably coming off of this gas main, which we're not touching, okay? This gas main is on your side, and we won't be bothering you at all. With respect to if we're fortunate enough to get a grant, the first thing we do is arrange a pre-construction conference with Public Works. We mean Public Works, and they decide how police officers, the times we start, the times, also on site, we have metal plates, inch-thick metal plates that are 8 to 12 feet. And if anybody has to get in or out of whether we're in front of that building or driveway, the police officers will work with us to get the car in and out of the driveways.
Because you're showing the line here.
That's not a line, that's a measurement, took the line off the building, and 35 feet is where that gas mains going. That's just a measurement line, it's not a line.
Okay. So it's correct in assuming you're going to come off of this
No,
main?
no, we're tying in to this lane, this lane right here. That's an elevated pressure line, that's existing 12 inch. You're on this side of the street, there's an existing 6-inch plastic low pressure main that's feeding you.
Okay, so it's all going to be done across the street?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against or on the matter? All right, is there anyone here wishing to sign for? Anyone wishing to sign for or in favor? Anyone wishing to sign against? Anyone here wishing to sign against? All right, there is one communication, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Madam President. I've got a letter here forwarded to me from Council Palmucci from Bill O'Neill, unit number 409, 1 City View Lane. Councils, my name is Bill O'Neill. I live at 1 City View Lane overlooking the section of Quarry Street referenced in the notice of public hearing for the 1,125-foot gas main project. I plan to attend the meeting on February 1st. Would like to provide my issues and questions in advance. During the National Grid project, will there be a police detail on site or enhanced traffic enforcement in the area? Traffic on Quarry Street, especially during the morning and afternoon rush hour, can be heavy. A posted speed limit is 40, but the actual speed limit is usually higher and includes frequent tailgating and passing, even though there is only one lane in each direction. At the top of Quarry Street, it appears the National Grid project will either begin or end. There are 5 driveways: City View Lane, High Point Circle, 2 other apartment buildings, the Terrell Room, and the Therian soccer field. Speeding, tailgating, and passing along from the frequent slowing, stopping, and turning in and out of these driveways makes this a dangerous stretch of road. 2, do you know what the hours of operation will be for this project? Last summer, the Therian soccer field project included delivery of sod by numerous 18-wheelers at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning in multiple days. Number 3, once the gas main has been installed, will the repairs to Quarry Street be long-term steel plates, a patch job, or actual repaving of this section of the street? Having watched many council meetings on QATV, I know the issue of street repairs after utility work is an ongoing problem. This particular section of Quarry Street is in a very good condition. Number 4, what assurance can National Grid provide us that this project will not cause disruptions to other gas, other utilities, emergency services, etc. in the neighborhood? Again, that's Bill O'Neill, 1 City View Lane, unit 409.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you, Mr. Clark. We'll send that to National Grid as well. Anything further? Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, I call this portion of this public hearing closed. Okay. Oh, we have 5 minutes till the well, okay. All right. Since we do have a few minutes, I guess I've reopened the public hearing. Do any councilors? Do any councilors have comments? Okay. Councilor Kane.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Reed, for being here today. I'd like to understand a little bit of the timeline of this project. When's it going to start?
Well, if we're fortunate enough to get the grant, the first thing we'll do is meet with the public works director and get this up and running. And the more work they do, we shut down. So When the public works director decides.
Can you speak up? We're having trouble
When
hearing
the
you.
public works director decides when we should start, we will start. He will also issue the hours of work, whether it's going to be Saturdays or Sundays or nights, whatever he decides that. Also decides how many police officers we have on hand to handle the job.
That's great, just want to get that out there for the public to understand.
Most everything is decided at that pre-construction conference.
Thank you. As this is sort of this is a split project between Council Calucci's ward and Ward 3. Obviously, it serves an interest in this project, which has already been approved. And just want to make sure that we can address, especially, we've had some National Grid projects in Ward 3 ourselves that the roads have not been taken care of satisfactorily. So we want to make sure that we can facilitate their repair in good order once the project is completed. Especially it's been difficult for managing traffic situations in the area. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Kane. Anyone else wishing to? Councilor Calucci.
Thank you.
Testing.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Testing. Testing. It's on here.
It's on here. Oh, I hear it now. Which one?
There you
Keep
go.
hitting it.
Sorry.
Do it one more time. Okay. Councilor Calucci.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming up tonight. Is there any plans to repave Quarry Street after, that you're aware of, after, should you be granted this street opening permit after you open it up?
I don't believe so.
And I'm struck by the question of why it is that there's a pretty significant gap between the sidewalk, there's a street, the sidewalk, and then they have a whole infield on that property. Why isn't the line being run through the private property? I mean, the reason to open up the road is to serve one private property, right? The Avalon Bay project.
Well, it could be, but we don't know what else that line is serving, because it also goes off this map with the numbers going higher. So we don't know how much is on that 12-inch elevator pressure line.
So, but the reason why you're seeking to open up the road is to run gas line to the Avalon Bay project, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they have a significant amount of land. Why are you not running a companion line off there on their property so that you don't have to open up 1,200 feet, 1,300 feet of Quarry Street? Has that been considered?
That would be decided by the engineers. It's not something that I would be involved with. I just.
Okay. All right. And you're aware that the DPW did an assessment of the trenches that NGrid has created by opening up streets in 2014 and 2015, right?
I was informed, yes, a Friday afternoon I was informed, and I was informed the National Grid started on them today.
Right. There were 720 trenches that were reviewed that were opened up in 2014, 2015. And of those 720 trenches, 238 were deemed unacceptable, some of them in immediate need for repair. Is that your understanding?
I didn't get the details. I just heard there was issues with bad patches, and they started on them. They started on them today. I haven't seen the list. The last time I was here, there was a couple of minor issues at a hearing, and I was able to help to move them along. I know they started on this directly.
Okay. Well, you need to let them know, the engineers and whoever the other side of the team is that you're having trouble getting street opening permits here, and you're being asked difficult questions because of the stuff they're not doing on their end. You know, I appreciate the job that you do and the limited amount of information you have to present to us, because you're not the engineer, you're not the crews doing the work. But at a certain point, you're National Grid's representative, and again, I don't hold you personally responsible for this, but someone from National Grid has to be responsible that 1 out of every 3 times we allow you to open up the street, you do not repair it properly. Taxpayers pay for those streets. Our streets are in bad need of major repairs all across the city. And every time we open up a street or allow you to open up a street, 1 out of every 3 times you don't do the bare minimum to repair it. And I find that wholly unacceptable.
And should this, I hope this doesn't come up for a vote tonight, but should it come up for a vote, I'd vote against it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Calucci. Anyone else? Last call. All right.
Remains a committee until later.
All right. Well, this will remain a committee until later this evening. Thank you very much. All right, we will call this meeting of the Special Permit Granting Authority to order. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Quincy City Council, acting in its capacity as a special permit granting authority, conduct a meeting on Monday, February 1st, 2016 at 7:25 in the Great Hall, 1305 Hancock Street, to review CMON's application for development at 10-40 Hayward Street. This was formerly known as Council 2013035. Councilor Kane.
Present.
Councilor Carroll.
Present.
Councilor DeBon.
Present.
Councilor Forrest.
Present.
Councilor Yang.
Present.
Councilor Palmucci.
Present.
President Hughes.
Present.
We have 7 members.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. I believe the solicitor is here. Solicitor Timmons.
Good evening, Madam Chair,
Good evening.
and members of the SPGA. I don't know that this is.
It is.
It's
It's more
on?
volume, actually,
Okay,
but not from you, from the mic.
right. Tonight, we're convened really for a discrete question. It's not to deal with any components of the permit. As I think you're each aware, the permit has been ordered by a judge of the land court on a second remand to issue. And it has been sent back to this body solely for the purposes of considering mitigation. The work to that end is underway in terms of looking at mitigation options, and the parties will then try to determine jointly what's acceptable, and the goal is to make a recommendation to this body so that there is a joint plan submitted by the parties, the applicant and the city, in regard to mitigation. That's going to take some time, however. So the request this evening before you is, in order to protect the city's position in the litigation, it's solely to take the step of filing a notice of appeal. Now, in doing that, I used the term at the meeting of the council body when I previewed this issue, that this measure would be prophylactic in nature. I had explained to you that the applicant has filed a motion in the case to obtain their costs, and another little post-judgment thing that's not really germane here, before a final judgment enters. So they filed something to, as I'm using the term, protect their position. They call me ahead of time. I have spoken at length on a couple of occasions with Mr. Murray, the litigation counsel for CMAR, and explained what we were doing and why, what I was going to be doing tonight in front of the body. And they understand it. This is nothing more than making certain that your position as the SPGA is as protected as possible. We don't intend to go forward with the appeal, although, to the extent I believe there may be merit, we could discuss that in the future. But I think the point now is more to try to work directly with the applicant in light of the judge's order. The applicant has already had some preliminary discussions, I understand. I should say a representative. I know the applicant was present, or the principal, Mr. Fang, but his representatives have already met once with the mayor and had some discussions about what they might be doing with the project. So they've already talked about some potential modifications.
We would like to talk to them about what mitigation measures may be possible, and that discussion will be underway as soon as Mr. Fang's team, I had wanted a couple of them to be here this evening, but one of them's away on vacation, a key member of the team. So they don't have representatives here this evening, which is fine. I told Mr. Murray I'd report to him tomorrow. So my request of the body is that there be a motion, that the motion simply indicate that the body supports the filing of a notice of appeal. And you need not get into any further action beyond that, but I'll represent to you this evening that other than filing the notice of appeal, I'd be taking no further action in the litigation. My job now, moving forward with other representatives of the team from the mayor's end that have worked on the project, would be to focus on mitigation, not litigation. And that's what I assure you we'll do. But I respectfully recommend to you as a body that this is an appropriate measure. It's a fairly simple one, and that you should take it just to protect the position as we move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons. Is there a motion? Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Anyone? Councilor Calhoun.
Thank you, Mr. Timmons. Good evening. No.
Pardon?
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes.
So we do some pleasantries before we get into that.
That's fine.
I'll skip them next time.
I'm sure it'll be brief exchange.
Sure. Yeah, just very quickly in the
Let's get
beginning.
right to it.
We've had this conversation about the appeal outside of the chamber, and I've
In a very appropriate manner.
in a very appropriate manner, right, with far less pleasantries. And I'll express it again. I'm concerned on two fronts. One, I'm concerned that after the many years that this project has been in contemplation, there isn't some better idea of what mitigation could be done to improve that area. This body, the SPGA, in two instances, heard testimony from dozens, perhaps hundreds of residents via phone, via email, letter, and in-person testimony that that area has traffic problems, pedestrian safety problems. And the fact that, regardless of the permit, the fact that nobody took all of that information and said, hey, gee, what can the city do in the future to make things better down there, unrelated to the project, is shocking to me. Never mind in relation to the project in the event that this case wasn't decided in our favor, which it ultimately wasn't. How long do you think it will take to determine what mitigation is necessary in that area and would be appropriate for us to add to the permit? Because we don't have a choice. The judge said we have to approve the permit. The only option we have is whether or not to add mitigation, which I think we all would be in favor of. So how long will it take before someone makes a recommendation to us relative to mitigation?
Well, I'm not sure, because it's not just coming from our side. It's coming from, and I want to correct a misperception. You had alluded to something in email to me, and I wasn't quite sure what you meant, but I'm not sure where you heard that no one has considered mitigation. That was worked on for like a 6.5 to 8 month period from the close of a hearing by this body in June all the way through to the final vote in November. Mitigation's been worked on extensively by both parties. The discussions have occurred. What happened, what was recorded in the decision was that the SPGA didn't consider or determine mitigation measures, and that was because the SPGA rejected the permit.
No, I know, but what I'm talking about is that the remand order told us we have two options: approve the permit or approve the permit with mitigation, right?
The current one, yes,
Yes.
that's what we're back to.
So what's before us now is we can approve the permit with no mitigation, or we can approve it with mitigation.
Right.
2 weeks ago, I had asked you, when we were meeting as a council, if you could provide us with the information we would need to make a decision on which path to take. Approve the permit with no mitigation, approve the permit with mitigation, or file a notice of appeal.
Correct.
I received nothing in the interim between the last meeting and this meeting on any of those 3 different avenues. So in my email to you, I said, it's surprising to me that in this vast amount of time, no one has come up with a mitigation.
Right, and see, I remain a little surprised by this. 2 weeks ago, when you said that, I had no idea that you had any conception whatsoever that a full mitigation plan on this project would be drawn up in 2 weeks.
Well, it's not 2 weeks. You said it had been worked on the 8 months while the case was pending. There's the
Correct.
2 weeks plus the 8 months, plus the years and years after the public testimony. I would
Correct.
think that all of the professionals that the city assembled to give testimony at that hearing to benefit the SPGA during the pendency,
Right.
who went out there and did studies and traffic studies, that resulted in nothing on behalf of the city? Nobody
No,
said
it
unrelated to the...
resulted, if you'd like, I will go upstairs right now. We can adjourn the body and I'll return.
Well, we'll decide whether or not to adjourn.
No, I'll
I'm just-
finish my
you
answer,
know, it's-
please.
Well, I didn't ask you a
I'll
question. I made a
finish
statement.
my
You interrupted.
answer. You asked a
I did
question.
not.
You asked a question which is based on misperception. I'm trying to clarify it.
Okay.
I'll go upstairs. I'll bring down boxes. I can go from this rail to this rail with boxes of information that include all the mitigation studies. We, on the city side, were making certain requests and recommendations. Mr. Fang, on his side, made certain requests. He's got to pay for all this. He's got to agree to it. His principal representative, Mr. Ryan, whom I believe you know, he's out of the country. He's away. So
Has
we
he been
need
gone
to
for
sit down.
years?
Excuse me?
Has he been gone for years or just the past 2 weeks?
He's been, well, you understand, I believe, and I hope, that until the land court decision issued, we were all under the understanding the permit was denied. I hope you're clear on that. No one was working on mitigation
I know, but
while
we
the
know-
denial was under
I appreciate
consideration by
that.
the land court.
So maybe it wasn't mitigation
a little
at
over
that-
2.5.
Maybe it wasn't
I'm not
mitigation.
certain how to handle things, Madam Chair.
Listen, it's
Because
not a
I'm
filibuster,
trying to
Jim. You've
answer
answered my question.
questions,
I appreciate
and
that.
I'm being
gonna ask you
interrupted by
another
the
question.
gentleman who asked the questions and is clearly doesn't understand what's happening. I'm just trying to clarify, not just for him, but the entire body, what's happened here. So I just asked for guidance on how to proceed, because if
I'll
I'm
pose
not
another
going to be
question
able
to
to
you so there's no
explain,
confusion.
then
So
this is
what I,
going to be
what I was saying,
remain a
Jim,
continued
what I,
problem
what
for
I,
the body.
what I was saying,
Go
Jim,
ahead, Councilor Calhoun.
what I was saying, Jim, is that it may not have been mitigation, but years ago, for years, I mean, when was the original permit filed? What was the date? At least a year.
I don't know.
Okay.
There was a denial.
Fair to say it's been 6, 7 years, right?
How long's the matter been pending?
Since the initial permit was filed.
Since 2009.
So 2009.
Right.
So at least 6 years. When this body began taking testimony, it became very clear that there is a traffic and pedestrian safety issue in that area, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So unrelated to mitigation, when we studied this and studied it and studied it, I'm surprised that there was nothing put together by way of a plan on how to make things safer, unrelated to the CMAR.
But why do you say that?
Because when I sent you an
That's
email, you told me you
absolutely
needed more
incorrect.
time to put together mitigation.
Correct. For this body to now consider with the issuance of a permit. That doesn't mean there were proposals and went back and forth.
Maybe I misread the remand word. It said reasonable mitigation. So
Correct.
this, right, so it doesn't say it has to be by agreement with the parties. It just says it has to be reasonable.
You know.
Did I misread it?
Here, the question tonight is whether to file notice of appeal. The reason for that question is the reasonable mitigation, everybody involved, the land court judge, the applicant's attorney, myself, all the engineers who worked on this. And I'm hopeful that at least some of the members of the permit granting authority understand that's going to take time. We've got to sit down now and talk about what is it we're going to do. The applicant rejected a lot of the things the first time. And they did it because of cost and everything. We've gone back and forth. The land court judge's decision, in it, he takes certain positions on things. Well, that might cause us all to reevaluate. The mayor, Frank Tramitozzi, and I went up and walked the site to look at certain things. There are a lot of impacts here. There's a whole street, there's a condominium there, Hayward Street, where people park in front of their condominium. There were supposed to be no parking signs up on all those poles. They were taken down for some reason, I have no idea. They came down in 05 or 06 and haven't been up since. Now, that came out of the trial, that there's an existing council order for parking signs. We have to go back all things like that, review the landscape. He's already made overtures about making some changes in his operation, proposed operation, that we would then have to take into account. But it's going to take some time, and I believe they're fine with that.
So just for the record, I want to state that the question I asked was, did I misread that? And that's the response I got. But I'll ask you another question.
Well, in
hold on a second.
fairness,
I'm
I
asking a
was
question.
trying
With
to
all due
answer
respect,
the
Mr.
question
Simmons,
when you interrupted me. You would have got an answer to that question if you let me answer it. But let's move along.
So the matter being considered tonight is not, there is no question on the floor, there's no motion on the floor for the appeal. The
That
agenda
is
states.
correct.
Right.
Madam Chair asked for a motion,
I did.
recognized you,
I'm not
and we
done
started
yet.
down this path. I understand that.
I'm not done speaking. The agenda says to review CMART's application for development at 1040 Hayward Street. So it's not on tonight for a motion for an appeal. That's what you're asking this body to do. It's on for whatever this body determines to do. We have three options of paths that we can take. Approve the permit without mitigation, approve the permit with mitigation, or file a notice of appeal. We could do any of those three things. So I just want to I want that to be clear. That's not what's on the agenda. Is a motion for filing a notice of appeal. And let me speak to the notice of appeal. I have concerns about filing a notice of appeal for something that
I think we need to just adjourn this aspect and then open the, and then come back to this because recess, because we are running over time from the public meeting. So we'll come back to it. Keep your thought, but I do want to get to opening the regular meeting.